Yo, this is Jay from Straight Smoke Gaming. In today's video, we're going to bring you a Madden career sim. So in this career sim, we're covering Jameson Williams. Obviously, if you don't know who he was, I'll explain it to you. First round pick of the Lions, wide receiver, played at Alabama. We have not really seen him much this year because he tore his ACL in the college football playoffs the year he got drafted. So that's why we haven't seen him. We just recently seen him get his first NFL action this Sunday with one target. Didn't catch it, so really, he just came off an ACL tear. I'm not really expecting much. Madden's not expecting much either. They recorded him out for this entire first season, so the numbers are going to be a little bit off because technically, according to Madden standards, in the sim, he will have no numbers for year one. With that being said, going into year two, this is Jameson Williams, starting out with a 78 overall with a star factor. So, pretty good start, not too low of an overall, still enough to get worked in as like a wide receiver 2, wide receiver 3, depending on what other players are on your team, and a star factor to start. So at the end of year two, he recorded 81 catches, 1,053 yards, and 7 touchdowns. Pretty good start to a guy who has, according to Madden, never played an NFL game. But as you can see there, with a guy like that, you cannot have him be the best wide receiver on your team and expect to win, and that is shown here with the Lions missing the playoffs in his first season, playing second season for his career. So, obviously, if you're going to want to make the playoffs, you need other people to step up. Well, he gets more into the swing of things and gets a higher overall. So, here in year three, we see a +2 overall going up to an 80, and he still has his star factor. That is good. You're going to want that star factor to help you get overalls faster, get upgrades faster, and hopefully go to a superstar factor. So, going in here to year three, he recorded 104 catches, 1,380, and 6 touchdowns. This is a big jump from what he did last year, and as you can see there, he is still the best player on his team stat-wise from the receiving standpoint when that's wide receivers and tight ends. So like I was saying, last year, you're not going to get far in playoffs with a guy like that. As you can see, they do not make the playoffs in year three of the sim, but hey, it's a good start, still a young team, still a lot of hope that this team can make the playoffs and make a run in the future maybe. So with that being said, going into year four, we see a +3 jump to an 83 overall. Still has that star factor. That star factor is key for him to keep upgrading as fast as he is throughout his seasons. Coming off that good year, let's see how he can answer that in the stat category. Hopefully, more wide receiver help. So here in year four, he records 86 catches, 1,064 yards, and 9 touchdowns. Good year. As you can see there, looking at the stats, you see Amon-Ra finally come back into the wide receiver 1 role. So with that being said, maybe him as a wide receiver 2 is more beneficial to the team than him as a wide receiver 1. And according to Madden, they say, yeah, they make the playoffs in his 4th year of the sim, but they are sadly a first-round exit to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Still a very young team with very little playoff experience. Jared Goff isn't even starting quarterback at that point. So year 5, we see a +2 overall jump to an 85. Still has that star factor. At this point, I was kind of worrying if he was ever going to get an upgrade to a superstar factor. Year 5, you would kind of like to hope that you already have that, but he does not yet. Going into his stats, he had 76 catches, 976 yards, and 7 touchdowns. So this is by far the worst season that we've seen him have. Big drop-off in catches, yards, and touchdowns from the last season. But hey, like I was saying, it's a young team. This is his slump that he still has as a young guy. Teams' defenses might be figuring him out more, knowing how to stop him. So that could have affected. And judging by those numbers, I would assume they would not make the playoffs. Madden says they will not either. So still a very young team. Realistically, this is only his 4th season playing, but it's his 5th season in the league because he did hurt his knee, and that wiped out his first season according to Madden. So here in year 6, we see a +1 overall to an 86 plus a star factor still. So star factor is good. I do see why it's only a +1. He did struggle last year. And that being said, he's going to struggle this year as well. As you can see, all those guys listed above him, he did suffer an injury at some point in the season. Only recording 54 catches, 673 yards, and 3 touchdowns. And if you look over there under the games played category, he only played 13, it looks like. So yeah, he did suffer an injury. I'm assuming that's what affected his stats. But let's go ahead and see if they made the playoffs. And somehow, some way, with the wide receiver 2 getting hurt, they do find a way to make the playoffs. but they are a first-round exit to the Atlanta Falcons. Pretty impressive, I would say. This really just speaks about what they put around him for them to still make the playoffs. So here in year 7, we see a +1 jump to an 87. Still has that star factor. Obviously, you're not going to get a multiple overall jump after suffering a season where you just got hurt and you have down numbers. But here in year 7, he bounces back with 85 catches, 1,104 yards, and 6 touchdowns. So, yeah, I mean, it's good. It's not one of the better seasons we've seen him have. But, I mean, this definitely is not bad to be a wide receiver 2. Because as you can see there technically there was a guy who had more touchdowns, more catches, and more yards. So, realistically, he's the highest overall wide receiver on the team, but he is listed as the wide receiver 2 for some reason. And yes, they do make the playoffs. But once again, they were a first-round exit, this time to the Philadelphia Eagles. So at this point, you kind of wonder if they will have any playoff success at all, since they have not had really any luck at getting out of the first round. So going into year 8, we see a +1 jump to an 88, highest we've seen him so far. Plus, he still has his star factor. I kind of really question. I don't think he's going to get the upgrade, judging by how it's going. But with that being said, let's go ahead and take a look at his stats. And this is easily the best season we've seen, with 122 catches, 1,729 yards, and 7 touchdowns. This is the most yards we've seen from him and the most catches we've seen from him. So maybe this will give him his superstar factor. Maybe this means they have a playoff run, because this is the best we've seen him. And as you can see there, Noah Monra, he was the wide receiver 1. He's the highest overall wide receiver on their team, and he's being treated like it as the wide receiver 1. So going in here to playoffs, yes, they do make the playoffs. This is pretty good playoff run they've had the past couple years. But once again, a first-round exit to the 49ers. So, you know, as a wide receiver 1, it might take a couple years for you to truly dominate the league. So let's go ahead and see here. And obviously, we'll see an overall jump to an 89. Still a star factor. If he had that superstar factor, I'm sure after a season like that, he's getting more than +1 overall. But, I mean, hey, we'll take it in year 9. I mean, year 9, I really don't know how much more you're going to see from him plus overall-wise. But in stats, he recorded 129 catches, 1,593 yards, and 10 touchdowns. So this is the first season he recorded 10 touchdowns, and these are the most catches he's ever recorded in a season. We do see a little bit of a drop-off in yards, but, I mean, hey, if you're getting in the end zone and you're catching the ball for your team, hey, who's the judge if your yards are a little bit down? 1,500, almost 1,600 is still really good. And, yes, in year 9, they do make the playoffs. This is the farthest we've seen them go, making it to the second round where they lose to the Seattle Seahawks. So we are seeing improvement here in the playoffs. Let's go ahead and see year 10 if that continues. So in year 10, we do see a -1 overall drop. Not really sure why, but we also get the superstar factor upgrade. So in year 10, obviously you like to get it earlier, but hey, we're not going to complain. At least he got it. I really don't know why he got the -1 with stats like that, the most catches he's ever had and the most touchdowns, but he did receive a -1. Taking a look at his stats here in year 10, he records 93 catches, 1,333 yards, and 4 touchdowns. So we do see a significant drop-off in touchdowns, but he is still very active in the yards department. I mean, hey, maybe it doesn't matter if you're getting in the end zone as long as you're getting your team in the red zone and racking up yards. Someone else comes in and takes it. I mean, hey, we're not playing fantasy football here. We're playing for championships. With that being said, let's see how they do in the playoffs. Yes, they do. Yeah, they do make it, actually. They play Philly. Threw me off because you would think after going to the second round, you make improvement. Nope, first round exit to Philly once again. So here in year 11, we see a +1 jump to an 89. Still has that star factor. That is very important, although at the age of 31, I do not know how much more of an overall upgrade you will see. So with that being said, in year 11, he records 110 catches, 1,494 yards, and 5 touchdowns. Same thing as last year. I mean, obviously, you see the decrease in touchdowns from normal, but I mean, hey, you're putting up yards, you're putting up catches. Like I said last year, if you're getting there, now someone's finishing off, that's all that matters. But here in year 11, that was not the case because they do not make the playoffs. That means they do not win enough games. So maybe for them to be a relevant team in the playoffs, he needs to catch more touchdowns. Here in year 12, we see a -1 overall drop to an 88. with that superstar factor still. So I'm assuming this overall drop is mainly just because of age. He is 32. His numbers weren't bad, so you can't really blame the stats on why. That being said, here in year 12, he records 91 catches with 1,236 yards and 4 touchdowns. We still do not see the touchdowns coming to him. And as you can see there, he is listed as the wide receiver 2. Maybe he's struggling a little bit to fit that role. Maybe it takes him another year to do that. Because as you can see here, in year 12, they still are not making the playoffs. This is 2 years in a row that they missed the playoffs after making the playoffs for a total of 5 seasons in a row. Going in here to year 3, we see a -2 overall drop. With still having that superstar, I'm thinking this is mainly just because of the age. I mean, the stats are not bad enough to warrant a -2 overall drop, in my opinion. But hey, I don't decide that. That's really up to what Madden decides in their simulation. That being said, taking a look at the stats, he records 94 catches, 1,255 yards, and 8 touchdowns. So we do see an increase in the touchdowns. About the yards are about the same, and catches are about the same from the range that he typically puts up catches in yards-wise. So we do like to see that increase. Let's see if that translates into a touchdown or into a playoff berth. So yes, they do make the playoffs, and we see them go to the second round again, but this is the second time in this sim that the 49ers are knocking them out of the playoffs, so that sucks. So far, really not a lot of playoff success. Here in year 14, we see a -5 overall drop, with also dropping to a star factor. This is solely because of age. I mean, hey, he is getting up there in age. His numbers are still good. He's still a pretty productive wide receiver. The only answer here has to be age. So let's go ahead and see what he produces as an 81 overall. He puts up 87 catches, 1,166 yards, and 6 touchdowns. So, I mean, pretty solid numbers for being an 81 overall. That's more than what I would expect from a wide receiver of his age and a wide receiver of his overall at this point in the sim. So he kind of shocked me a little bit when he put up this season at year 14. And yes, they do make the playoffs, but like normal, they struggle in the playoffs getting out of the first round as their first round exit to the Arizona Cardinals. So from this sim, what we can tell, seems like he's going to struggle a little bit in the playoffs. He makes the playoffs but doesn't really do much. He does retire. So in 14 seasons, he has 3 Pro Bowls and 2 league leader in catches. So those are like awards. Stat-wise, he records 1,212 catches with 15,000 yards and 82 touchdowns. So pretty good numbers. I don't think those are Hall of Fame numbers. I mean, the numbers are good. Maybe if they have more playoff success, you could justify that. But hey, I don't know. Maybe I'm biased because I don't see much playoff success. But yeah, that's about all we got in this video. We like doing these videos. If there's any other players you want to see, comment them down below. We will do career sims for them. If you enjoy, please remember to like and sub for more Madden, GTA, and Red Dead content. And we'll see you in the next video. Bye, guys.